7 ways to be a better leader to garner stakeholder support. We're going to examine project management, good leadership, stakeholder support, and understand how your success will benefit those you serve. Hi, I'm Dawn, and I'm a freelance project manager, career coach, and entrepreneur who is focused on using and highlighting my skills when switching to a new career path. When I started my project management career, I was all about delivering, but didn't understand the importance of stakeholder support. It only took a few projects where I had to deal with a team member or sponsor who wasn't happy to make me realize the importance of stakeholder support. I then learned how to get their support as early as possible, keep it, and treasure it. That led me to being a turnaround queen. I often was assigned to the tough sponsors on high-profile initiatives because I knew how to connect with them and get their support. Support will look different depending on the project, the person, the situation, but it doesn't mean that a person will always agree with you, and that's okay. Your stakeholders, how do you define them? When you're part of something bigger than yourself, your contribution as the project manager becomes exponential. And you know, as the project manager, your leadership is critical. But without the support of your stakeholders, it will be difficult for you to deliver successfully. As we talk about how you define your stakeholders, and specifically your project team, ask yourself, who will need to do work in order for your project implementation to be successful? Is there a functional area that is often overlooked when assigning project resources? Is there a functional area that needs to perform testing? And when we're talking about external to the project team, don't forget to ask yourself, who will be impacted by the change that is made by your project? Those folks that don't need to be on the team but will be impacted. After we talk about defining the stakeholders, let's talk about being a good listener. Good leaders generally listen more than they speak. The same goes for project managers. Be present. Listen to what your stakeholders are saying or not saying. Give weight to their problems, concerns, suggestions, and thoughts. Listening is a skill, and you can absolutely develop it and fine-tune it. If you want to be a great project manager, realize that listening is a skill and an art. Practice it until stakeholders start saying, she really understands what we're trying to deliver. So here's how to develop being a good listener. Shut off your mobile device or ignore it if it vibrates or rings. Make sure that you're in a quiet place where you can give the person you're talking to your undivided attention. Don't interrupt, or try your best not to interrupt. Sometimes you do have to control the conversation. Be aware of nonverbal clues if in person or on video. But also listen to their auditory clues such as a raise in voice. Are they talking quickly? Don't jump to conclusions or make assumptions. This can be a big one for some of us. Acknowledge what they are saying. This reassures people and makes them more likely to really listen to you. Ask deep questions. When they've finished outlining the issue, make sure you understand clearly what they are actually saying. Use the mirror technique if comfortable for you. Think carefully before answering. Don't rush until you've really considered what they are asking, verbally and non-verbally. Respect their opinions, their rights, and their viewpoints. Be objective. Don't be defensive. Don't judge. Listen and take your emotions out of the picture. And follow up on your conversations. You may have heard that there are 3 types of listening. Internal listening, where you are focused on your own thoughts and reactions. Focused listening, where you're giving the person your undivided attention, but you're not picking up on the small nuances the person is sharing. And 360 listening, where you are not only listening, you're aware of what is being said, you're aware of body language, tone, nuances, what energizes them, and what stresses them out, and so forth. So step 3, lead by example. This brings us to the next point, which is all about leading by example. In other words, while other leaders are busy talking the talk, you're walking the walk. This doesn't mean you're perfect, far from it, but it means you are holding yourself accountable for your choices and your actions. You understand that not being perfect is what can help you be a better leader. You share your mistakes and failures as transparently as you share your successes. Leading by example happens when a leader lives his or her core values every day. Leaders are usually the first ones to take a step, to solve a problem, or to ask the right questions. Be proactive. Leaders get things done, while others are still theorizing about them. A leader sees a problem, thinks about it, and chooses the most effective solution he or she can think of. What this doesn't mean is micromanaging. A good project manager recognizes what's mine, what's their stuff, and they make it clear. A good project manager is also like a good coach. As a coach, most of the time you help team members figure out how best to do things themselves. You leave the ball in their court, having helped them build the confidence to tackle the issue and giving them the prompts so they're not headed towards issues. You don't do it for them. You do it with them. Or rather, they feel as if you're with them, that they have your support. A good project manager helps team members assume their own responsibilities by setting clear boundaries. Boundaries mean you respect yourself as well as your stakeholders. Ways to set strong boundaries include defining when and how you will interact and sticking to it. Be intentional when agreeing to meet outside of business hours. This is a really big one for project managers. Respect your stakeholders' boundaries also. Following through on what you've set. Setting clear boundaries and sticking to them is one of the most priceless gifts you can share with your team members. Step 4. The best way to have a successful project is to be intentional about delivering what your stakeholders want. It may seem obvious, but start with the end in mind. Ask yourself what the sponsor wants to deliver, what the project team stakeholders want to deliver within scope, of course, and then what the external stakeholders want delivered within scope. Narrow it down to one major deliverable that satisfies all of your stakeholders. Make sure your project matters. How do you do that? You spend time with your stakeholders. You think about your stakeholders. Ask yourself what your stakeholders need. You always go deep and look for extra tweaks that your stakeholder needs. Step 5. Plan for sharing project information. There are a variety of ways you can engage in meaningful connection to share the status of your project, including providing succinct reports that your stakeholders will want to read. Nothing too long. And you want to make sure the reports actually have value. And then also have one-on-one conversations. Step 6. Keep in mind that the project success benefits your stakeholders too. When you have the energy to properly lead the project team and manage the deliverables, you can help stakeholders more and in more ways. When the project team delivers quality, the team members have more influence and support, which turns into assistance on future projects. Your leadership will not only bring you success, but it will also help you help all your stakeholders. Step 7. I'd like to spend more time on this step because it's so important and often overlooked. Giving stakeholder support often starts with you being a better project manager, you becoming a better leader. Great leaders also know how to and when to set boundaries. Support, leadership, and boundaries are all interconnected. So there's that one essential ingredient to becoming a better project manager, and that is the courage to lead. Great leaders also know how to and when to set boundaries. It becomes easier to understand when you realize that setting boundaries is a decision. It's a choice and not just an emotional play. Setting boundaries shouldn't be seen as weakness, but rather as a leadership trait. When your stakeholders see you protecting your energy, that's true authenticity, and they'll know it. So how do you feel about your career right now, right at this moment? Do you enjoy it, or is it dreary and tough to get out of bed every morning? In a perfect world, you would just jump right out of bed, happy and energized, ready to tackle the day, right? Your family would go off to school or work happy. Your boss would love everything that you have to say and do. And you would be happy each payday. Do you desire this perfect world? We know that complete perfection is not attainable. But that's not to say that you can't aim for a career or job that you're passionate about. When you're passionate about your work, your energy increases. You feel revitalized, and stressful situations don't overwhelm you. Setting boundaries within your project is the key to maintaining your energy's balance. Your energy is also your spirit or your liveliness, and when you take on too much or have stakeholders who don't support how you manage projects, you become stressed, thus dampening your outlook on life. Let's go back to remember why you became a project manager in the first place. No doubt working with the team to deliver quality outcomes was high on the list of reasons, but many project managers state freedom as a primary reason they switch to project management. Yes, hard work is certainly necessary to deliver on time and within budget. But if you're constantly thinking about project work and have a hard time focusing on your attention towards your family life, is it really worth all the effort? Working around the clock and having countless meetings will also lead to burnout and eventually resentment towards your project team members. The most dedicated project managers take breaks between meetings throughout the day or take an entire day off here and there. They also understand the importance of having set work hours and leaving work at the office. Stakeholders are certainly important, but if you don't set boundaries with them, it will seem as if you're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If your stakeholders are taking away your personal and family time, you will become resentful towards them and likely make it difficult for you to hear the suggestions or concerns objectively, and we don't want that. Every project manager needs boundaries in order to deliver.